Mastermind podcast. I have with me Mr. Mark Stern. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. You're in Austin, Texas, is that right?
That's right. Happily,
Well,
it's beautiful out right now.
great weather and great food in Austin. We'll get to that in just a second because I actually lived in Austin very briefly back around the dot-com bubble burst, which was a real fun time to be in Austin, let me tell you.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to get you on because I had about 6 months ago, I read Sarah Williams' book, One Box at a Time. Now, she's a subscription box business, which of course you can provide that type of product to people as well. One thing that I struggled with is, obviously you're a custom box agency, and I was trying to think, how can I say exactly what it is you do? So, what's your elevator pitch? Help me with that.
Sure. So where we're a little bit different, subscription boxes. So we're not in the business. Let me anchor on swag boxes. Swag, we jokes, means stuff without a goal. And so stop sending people stuff. Give them the tools and resources that they need to be set up for success. What we anchor on is you have a product, a service, your own genius. How can I get into what you do and how you deliver and create an entire physical product around it? The pain point that this business was really built on was just a simple belief that I believe that business owners and entrepreneurs make it too hard for their customers to get a result. So if you tell me, oh, here's everything you need, but you need to go print it out or go get these supplies, you're assuming with a printer, as an example, I have a printer, it has paper, it has ink, it's hooked up to my computer, and when I print it all out, I'm organized. There are all these obstacles we do as a business, and this is just an example that gets people to this idea that someday I'll get around to doing it. It's very different when I can create a physical product around you and give you what you need, which when we start working together, you have everything out of the gates inside the box. The last thing I'll just anchor on is how we look at strategy when we're building out these experiences is on the customer lifecycle. You acquire a customer, then you onboard and deliver, then you retain. If your goal is acquisition, I'm going to think through a different way to go to market and build the product as opposed to onboarding and delivery or retention. It's three very different strategies. But that's where we really play is that in this age of AI, you see this rise of digital distrust and not trusting what you see. Power of physical is I can create a curated experience and set you up for success out of the gates.
And I'm smiling over here because you just answered about three of my questions,
Oh, great.
which is brilliant. But I always bring way more than we have time for, so we're
Oh,
good. No,
goodness.
that's a great explanation because I love that. Something I talk about a lot is companies unnecessarily inject friction into transactions, and
So
as
much.
a high strung type A, as if people can't tell, it drives me crazy. Like I just want the button, I want the thing, I want it to be easy, especially if you're delivering information. You like you said, you don't want to go to the printer and have to print out a 38 page. And who's print? I mean, who? I don't know too many people that have a printer anymore. Those are
I have a
eventually going
big
away.
printer, but it's the nature of the business I'm in.
That's right. Well, you had a product, and I had watched your interviews on a few other podcasts, which made me even more excited. But you had one that you discussed. I think it was called 57 Hats, and can you talk us through who the audience is for that? Because I just thought that was brilliant.
Of course, and I can send you one of these if you let me to send you one as well.
I'd love
Um,
it. I'd love one.
57 hats. Where this came from was it started with me. So this is actually one of my products. I have been building these products for other clients, and you can see all the tiles behind me represent different products we've launched. But my mentor at the time was like, "You keep doing this for other people. Why aren't you doing it for yourself?" And I'm like, I'm such a person of like, you should eat what you cook. And it had been a while since we built a box, so. One of the struggles we had as we started growing custom box agency is when we started to grow, when you're small, team members wear many hats. But as the business started to grow, I actually started taking hats off of members of my team. And they went through this mourning period almost like they asked me, I had some high performers say, like, do you not value me as much?
Oh,
Do you not
wow.
trust me as much? And my response was, no. I want you to stay in your zone of genius and not worry about all these other ancillary roles. And so it was literally a drive from Austin to Alabama for Thanksgiving one year. And I was like, how could I depict this idea of hats? Cards is a brilliant modality. And so essentially what we did with 57 hats is when you open up the box set, it's almost like a game. But the game is designed for you as a business owner to discover how many hats you're wearing in your business or members of your department or team. And then once you know that, we can take you through an exercise of should you continue to wear this hat? Should you delegate it or should you delete it? So you have this whole exercise and process that you now have a vernacular of these are the things that I'm doing, wearing. And just to bring it to life with the listeners, what we did with the cards is the cards represent five different common organizations within a business: operations, delivery, marketing, sales, finance. And each of the cards represents a different hat or role you could wear. So we played off of this concept of what would a hat look like for a CEO versus a graphic designer. And it's just a really powerful modality to give you information. What it was designed to do is an acquisition play. So when people receive it and go through the exercise, if they need help staffing, we give you a lot of tools and resources as part of the product. But if you also need help in our ecosystem, we have a staffing agency that we can easily funnel people to support you and your needs. So that's the concept. But it was just a brilliant way to take something like fun, like hats, and how many hats are you wearing, and just bringing it to life in a physical modality.
And Mark, the cards are designed very well. I saw a card layout of an image online and I thought, wow, I mean, they really spent a lot of time on the design, the graphics. And, I hate to say it, but the kid in me got really
Oh yeah.
excited. I was just amazed at the quality that got put in. I mean, I thought, these are trading cards, this is something that a kid could buy at a store, and get excited about that. So do you guys get into that space at all as far as, well, let me ask it this way, because this was a question I was thinking about. A friend of mine, Marie Santarasa, she's been on the channel twice. She's the queen of trade shows. That's her
Oh,
specialty. And we talk about, because on that other interview you said swag was stuff without a goal, and I thought, my God, that's brilliant what Mark said, because all of these companies go to these trade shows and they out all this stuff, and then they have no way to track it, measure it. They don't know if it moved the needle, and they just gave out $10,000 worth of pins. And I thought, let me ask Mark, thinking about trade shows, would that integrate any giveaways there, integrate with what you offer as a service?
oh, totally. We built so many trade show booths too, and so in our world, what we're known for is our box experiences. But at the end of the day, when we work with clients, if it's physical, we want to take it off your hands and manage it on your behalf. So there are people who, if you've seen like the ClickFunnels 2 Comma Club Awards or the Framed Plaque Awards, we've had those produced for clients. If you can
Wow.
imagine it, what's really fun is for me, I get inspiration from everything. And if it's been done before, we're going to figure out how to do it. And with clients, like there's a strategy or an experience that you want to create. And
Mhm.
what I want to say is like, I'm not against swag. I think that there's a way to introduce swag correctly. And a big part of swag is connection and community. If you have an established connection and community, then this is stuff. And this is kind of where like stuff gets left in the hotel room or it gets thrown out or donated to Goodwill. Like, I want to get people past this stuff and thinking about the intentionality of the experience. And so, no matter what you create, even within a trade show booth, you can still create things with intentionality. I can still send you on an experience, or I can think about is the tool that I'm giving out something that's going to aid the story and keep me memorable or top of mind.
Well, one thing that blows me away, Mark, is you focus so heavily on the experience, and it got me thinking, because over the years, I mean, I'm a child of the '80s. I handed out business cards. I remember when business cards were little CDs,
Uh,
that was the cool thing. And you guys work with all five senses. And again, in this digital era, to have something physical in your hands, one, is very powerful right now, because we're going to this virtual robotic world, and you've got something there physically to be in front of you. So the power of that. But also, you talked previously about integrating not just the sights, but smells and textures. And I thought, oh man, that's amazing. So do you sit there and you think all of that through and engage the five senses, or do you have a team that comes together when you're putting something like this? Is it a team meeting, or are you sitting there iterating? What's the process
yeah, it's a great.
creatively?
And this is something that's I've been in client service for I can't believe like over 20 years. And so I grew up in the 80s and early 90s too. So if you could see things that have influenced so many things we've done with clients, like it's where do you have marks of inspiration? And a perfect example is I talk heavily about what are the things we naturally save. The things you save in your life tell a story when we talk about intentionality, because I know when you read a book, you typically don't throw it out, you put it on a bookshelf, which is why a lot of our boxes are the size of a book. We'll brand the spine. I want to take up real estate. I want it to be easily accessible. I know things that you collect. Beanie Babies, Pogs, baseball cards, things that the inherent nature of collection. If you're collecting something, you're not going to throw it out. And so I may say that this is box one of four. And if you want to collect the other pieces, you have to keep playing the games. When I was a kid, you may remember this. I think it was 90s is when this happened. The US came out with a new quarter for every state. Do
That's
you
right.
remember that?
Yeah, that was a big deal. Yeah.
My father and I had a coin board that literally was the map of the US. And as those new quarters came out, we were collecting it. The inherent nature of the activity we were doing, we would never throw out that coin board, especially because we want to collect all the pieces. Collection is something that can be engineered. And we did the same thing. We had clients that we literally built coin boards out that as you progress through the program, you earned a new challenge coin and you can press it into the board, but it becomes this beacon that like I want it to feel incomplete until you collect all the pieces. So there's these elements of things. If it has replayability to it, think about a board game. You don't play Monopoly once and throw it out. The Monopoly set that I played as a kid was the same one my mother played when she was a child. She just carried it through decades. So there are just things that we naturally save. If we look at the intentionality behind that, it helps to start to build out different experiences. So when we work with clients, we do a lot of research and due diligence on clients. I came from corporate consulting. I worked at Deloitte Consulting for many years. Before we would start any engagement with the client, we have to get smart on their business. And this is exactly how we approach it with our clients. But because we're always, this is for any entrepreneur, when you niche down and focus on just being known for one thing, you need to put all your mental capacity towards that. So when it comes to physical products, our clients don't know what they don't know. And we have built so many different modalities and so many different types of products that once we understand what it is they're trying to achieve and you anchor on what is success, what are you trying to accomplish as a result of building this product, then we can start to engineer what is possible and show the options with clients. And so I have no expectation that clients come in having the vision baked for a box experience. Typically, if they do, it gets blown up very quickly when they realize they don't know what they don't know. And our role is just to show you your options, what's possible. You're in the driver's seat as we guide you through the experience. So that's how a lot of this happens is, I mean, as a kid, I don't know if you played original Nintendo back in the 1980s. And Mario Brothers 3 for original Nintendo is a game of my heart. There has been so many subtle things that people, how we reimagined it in a business application, would have no idea that that was something that was inspired from a game that I played when I was like 5 or 6 years old. And so this is kind of where just inspiration's all around us. Once you get the lens of anything is possible, then it just becomes a playground.
And who doesn't enjoy the gamification
Oh
element
my
of it?
gosh.
And I didn't even think about the ability of putting in the design where something could be used over and over again, like you said, like a monopoly board, because we think of educational and promotional as a one-time thing, but you can really take somebody through a journey. Now, I don't ask this question often enough on the podcast, and I'm going to turn and change that today. Can you give me one example of a big win with this concept? Because I don't ask enough about that one time where you delivered something and the client just went wild with it, and it was fantastically successful.
Yeah, there's so many little stories, and at the end of the day, it's all about like when they hold their product for the first time to see them light up. It's just for me one of the most exciting things. Um, we have a client in the financial space. She has a biannual event called Financial Freedom 101. One of the things that we did was just get into the structure of how she delivered this 3-day event that upsells them into her coaching program. And she has this whole coaching community. And she's been doing this event for years. The one thing that we did was we just introduced the box experience. And what was really powerful was when they received the box before the 3-day virtual event. And just imagine attending a 3-day virtual event and just sitting in front of a screen for 3 days. It's heavy. But in this application, like I am so antsy that I'm like, you'll see me walking the neighborhood if I'm active because I just have to move my body. But to give you the tools and walk you through an experience of day one, two, and three, and just the power. The second they receive the box, it activates them pre-event. They start to share the insights on social media. It creates this ripple effect, so you're activating your audience before the event. During the event, they have this interactive element through it, and the result was one, she had the highest share rates that she's ever had, and two, she doubled her back-end conversions. And the only thing is, people are just actively looking for their trusted mentor. And as part of that equation, are you setting me up for success? And can I see that I'm getting tangible results with you? And so, if I can get you in momentum in those 3 days, it becomes an easy next step to see this form of learning or this form of teaching gets me to take action the way that I need to. So that's a perfect example. And we've seen so many, we've seen challenges, we've seen onboardings that clients have done in the SaaS space to get people to utilize their SaaS platform that have just skyrocketed their back end. There's just so much magic you can do because people want something that feels like a new opportunity or a different experience, especially in this age of AI.
How much of this, Mark, is the background you had with Deloitte? Because obviously they're a big name in the business, and they're that under that roof are a ton of geniuses. Let me ask it this. I'm going to ask it differently.
You can ask that one too.
What did you have to unlearn from Deloitte for this business?
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is like it was like the death of me when I left corporate and became an entrepreneur. When I always attributed myself as being a high performer in corporate America. So I was like, when I make this leap, because I didn't have any plan. I literally had a dream at the end of 2017 that said, if you don't leave Deloitte, if you don't leave this job, it will kill you. And if you know the lifestyle of people at corporate consulting, you're a road warrior. You literally fly every single week, 4:45 a.m. I had a cab pick me up and take me to the airport every week for 6 years straight. It's a horrible quality of life. And so my body was breaking down. I was on the brink of like starting the transition of like mid to late 30s to getting into, I'm now in my 40s. And so just a lot of things were happening. And when I made the leap, I didn't know what it is I would do. I just had faith that if I could free up the mental capacity that was being occupied by Deloitte, I could find the passion again. And what I learned was this. I had tried to approach things the way I would in corporate America. Deloitte celebrates you for being the world's greatest generalist. Entrepreneurship does not celebrate you for being the world's greatest generalist. They want you to be known for something. And I finally had this realization that corporate versus entrepreneurship is like checkers versus chess. The game board is the same. The game board looks the same. So you can't assume like that was my problem was I was playing checkers with chess rules. And once I realized, no, Mark, you need to learn how to play the game of entrepreneurship and give myself permission to learn. You don't ever forego or push the reset button. And I hear people say, oh, I have to push the reset button. No, you never push the reset button. Your experience is your competitive edge. That is your key distinction or point of differentiation from other people. So once you learn to play the game, I was able to layer on the insights or the mindset I had from corporate America, and that's what helped me reframe. That's a great question, by the way.
Mark, I'll say this. If you encapsulate that in a book, I would buy it. Let me narrate it
Oh,
if you don't feel comfortable. But as I hear your story, and I interview people not for a living, but I do it quite frequently, and just the way you explain it, and you're a rich storyteller. So I think there's a book in there somewhere. I don't know if you've been told that before, but like I said, I would buy it. You sold me. I do have this is the closest thing to an ambush question I have, which is funny. You're in Austin. There's great food in Austin. I lived there for a while. I've spent more time in San Antonio. What can they cook well? What dish can they cook well in Alabama that they cannot seem to get right in Austin?
okay. I no one knows this unless you're from Alabama or from the Southeast. You may know this. Where's home for you, Robert?
I'm from Kentucky, yeah, but I spent a
Okay,
lot of time in the
you
deep
may
South.
have this in Kentucky. Are you familiar with the concept of meat and threes?
No, no,
This is
fill
like
me.
a thing going. We would always go to meat and threes. It's just a thing in Alabama. It's the places you would go and you pick your meat and your three veggies, and so that's kind of where you can do. And your three can be like a dessert too. But like I love a good meat and three where you can go and get. You could be the fried chicken or the grilled chicken or the catfish, and then the sides. And those are things that like you just don't see here in the same capacity. So it's very soul cooking because you're gonna have the green beans and the okra and the grits as sides or the cobblers. But there's so many places that like I so miss that because it's so and we can talk about barbecue, but I go back and forth. Alabama barbecue is a lot more saucy. I lived in North Carolina. It's a lot more vinegary.
Vinegary.
Texas is very dry rub.
Then you got St. Louis, and yeah, sorry,
And
go
you got
ahead.
St. Louis, yeah, it's every region. So I'm a barbecue snob for sure. I love me some good tacos as well, which Austin does barbecue and tacos brilliantly. but I do miss my meat and threes, and I miss good cornbread. I
Good
love
cornbread.
sport
Yeah,
bread.
they don't do, I haven't had cornbread, good cornbread in probably anywhere in Texas.
But I grew up in Alabama 19 years. Never once did I ever experience Alabama barbecue sauce until I came to Texas and they started telling me about Alabama barbecue sauce. And I'm like, I lived in Alabama. Like, where is this? And now when I go back, there are places that do have it because it's become more mainstream. But growing up, like 19 years and then all the time going back to see family, never once of all the barbecue have I had a lot of barbecue. Had I ever heard of Alabama barbecue sauce until more recently, and then outside of Alabama.
It's a hit outside of the, like the people that say I'm really big in Japan, like I have a following in Singapore for
You
some
do?
reason. I don't know, a little bit. I mean, when I look at the like RSS, the audio only feed, I spike in Singapore. I don't know. So
Hello, Singapore.
I haven't been there, but shout out to them. I'd love to go. Asia
Me
is
too.
one place I haven't gone. But speaking of moving around, because this legitimately was one of the questions, I moved around a lot. I was in the Army for 8 years, and I never could find my fit. So I changed a lot of roles, did a lot of different things, and during all of that transition, because I was the kid that went to college and I was supposed to do X, Y, and Z and do all these things. So there was these more expectations to probably live a corporate existence, and I did some of that. But I also traveled, and I got a lot of criticism both from friends and family for jumping around so much. Now in my mid 50s, people have seen the richness of the life that I've lived and the
Yeah.
adventure and the travel. And now they all like, Robert, we get it. It all makes sense now. And you've moved around a bit too. That might have been, obviously for career purposes, you might have gotten itchy feet, but did you get any heat for moving around?
You know what? This is an interesting question. And if I like, my story's kind of weird in the sense of from undergrad to business school, like one job. I did national marketing campaigns for Pernod Ricard. They do lots of big name liquor brands. It was the dream. I don't know why that was my dream coming out of college, but and I felt this draw to Chicago. And I did research because it just felt like I'm from Alabama. I was living in DC for undergrad, and then there was something about Chicago that was calling me, and I didn't really know anyone or anything in Chicago. And then the same thing from grad school to starting a business. One job, I worked at Deloitte. So I've been very a pure loyalist in that sense. But it's always been a calling of, am I getting too comfortable in this location? And if I get too comfortable, then my body starts like, you need to shake it up and you need to change it up. Austin has been different because I moved here after the polar vortex winter when I was in Chicago. Because when you start using words like there's a polar vortex coming down from the Arctic, it was miserable up there. And I'm like, I'm a Southerner, I need to come down. But I didn't know anyone in Austin. And there was a moment that the family was like, are you okay? Is everything okay? But my parents and my family have been brilliant that they know that if something's calling me and pulling me, the greatest gift a parent can give their child is belief and just believing in them. And my mother and father were, of course, they had their concerns when you would move, especially if you move and you don't know anyone in this new destination. But I didn't know anyone when I moved to DC, and I had a phenomenal time there. I didn't know anyone in Chicago, built a brilliant community. I didn't know anyone in North Carolina when I went to grad school. Amazing community. I knew that I would figure it out. And, now over 10 years later living in Austin, I can't believe I've been here over a decade. It has felt like such a home and a place that I don't know. I feel like all those other steps just kind of guide you on to, where you ultimately need to be. So,
That's right. Well, you learn what you love and what you don't love. And the audience for us on the channel, it's surprising when I look at the metrics. This channel resonates with a lot of younger people.
yeah.
So I want to let that 25-year-old man or woman know that have bounced around a little bit. It's okay. You're not dysfunctional. You're not broken. Sometimes it takes that adventure to find that place. And I went through opened a lot of doors thinking I wanted what was in that room, and I realized I didn't. I got faster at realizing that it wasn't a fit. And so I started moving out faster. And
Yeah.
my thing was, I think early in life, I stayed in things way too long, like 8 years in the Army. I should have done three and gotten out, to be honest. 8 years was I hung on way too long. So in the early part of my life, I hung on too long. And then now I have a much higher discernment. So I don't want these young people to think that they're somehow dysfunctional by moving around. I think it's a great way
Mhm.
to learn what you really want to do.
And what I will say, just to add on to this, is there's been many moments in life which I like, you're going to make a decision to do a bold play like this, relocate, and then other people around you say they're going to join you and do it with you. But when push came to shove, um, they back out. And I've had so many moments in life that where a lot of the magic has happened is experiences that I could have easily said, well, if they're not going, I'm not going to have this opportunity. But I'm just a victim for experience, as you can see with my business. And there's been many times that like there was something energetically that was like, just go and experience. So the question is, you don't know what the unknown is going to reveal for you. And I've had some massive moments in my life where I could have easily not had an experience because people who committed all of a sudden didn't want to go and I'm going it alone. But sometimes people just can't see what you see or feel what you feel. And you have to learn one of the best things you can do in life is just trusting yourself.
That's right. And a little bit of fear and trepidation is fine. Like the title of that book, they give away the secret in the title. Feel the fear, do it
Yeah.
anyway. Feel the fear, do it anyway. So who's the perfect client for you? When you get that call from X type of company, X type of size, you say, yes, these are the people we can move the needle largest for.
Oh, I mean, and here's the thing. There's a day that I always say that we could spin off elements of custom box agency and put CEOs for real estate, SaaS, chiropractors. There's so many different buckets, coaches, education, franchisee owners, that we could easily stand up a business around because just to me, analog is the play that we think becomes just even more relevant in this age of AI. And you're seeing this yearning for that physical. You talked about experience and the senses. You experience through the senses online, and what you see on your computer is only what you see and hear. It's only two of the senses. I can create a whole nother modality by just sending you a box where we can do touch, taste, and smell. And so this is like, I need to have a better answer, but we've worked across insurance to you name it. We've worked across so many different modalities. I love SaaS just because it's all about how do I get more people to get past the trial and become a monthly user to it. There's so much gamification and incentives that we can do. The real estate space is wonderful. Accountants are really great too, but this is kind of where I remember when we had our first client in the credit repair space thinking, oh my gosh, credit repair would never have been a category that I thought would have been something. I was like, this is going to be so dry and mundane. No, it was a blast. So
Wow.
some of these topics and areas that you think, oh, this is not as exciting. No, no, no. Every single client we worked with has been such a new adventure and how we approach getting smart on your business. It doesn't matter where you come from. We can really bring it to life in a really powerful way. But like it's people who are really open to being innovative and trying new things, and people who really struggle with getting their clients or customers to take action. Like that's a lot of how do I incentivize or reduce the overwhelm in a really powerful way, and that gets me excited. I love a
I
good
love I love it, Mark. And here's another reason why you need to put out a book. You've got all of these phrases I read before. You talked about jewels, tools, and rules. And I love that. I love the ring of it. Can you just encapsulate the meaning of that for us really quick?
course. So your customer's on a journey. And part of what we need to do is define success. What does success look like? Don't assume that they know what success is. When I went to college, success is, do you have the diploma? Yes or no? Because if you do, then I know without a shadow of a doubt you completed that journey. So if I said that a diploma is a jewel, it's the thing at the end of the journey that when you have it, it's undeniable that you've completed it. A black belt, if you're a white belt in Taekwondo and you want to become a black belt, once you have it, it's undeniable. So that's what a jewel is what is the thing that when I have it, it can be physical, it doesn't have to be, but it's a undeniable binary yes or no, I have achieved this result. The tools are getting back into the beginning of the journey. Have I set my people up for success? And this is why I love Box so much, is that I can send you all the tools you need. I can prepare you for the journey to the jewel. And the rules are all about minimizing chaos. So think about when you play a board game, if you're watching football, there are rules that minimize chaos. If you and I were playing Monopoly and you roll the dice and the rule is you can go left or right on the game board, it fundamentally changes the nature of the game. So rules are all about guiding people and minimizing chaos. I've seen people with programs that when people get to the end, they're like, here's the result, and the owner is like, or the entrepreneur is like, how did you get there? It's because they didn't set the right rules and the context and the guardrails to make sure that you put your people on that pathway to success. The rules are heavily about minimizing chaos and reducing overwhelm. So that's essentially it, is your clients on the journey, customers on the journey to the jewel. It's our job to give them the tools and set the rules to navigate through the journey.
I like that. I like that. Again, would be great to read about that.
I think that would be a book too. No, I love that you've been calling this out too, and thank you, by the way, for sharing that because sometimes I don't see it. But
Yeah, no,
Jules, Tools,
no.
and Rules is such a cornerstone of what we do. Um, because it's amazing how businesses just don't even set the rules, and people don't know when they have been successful with the product. So, that's why I love the binary.
And 30 minutes goes by so fast, Mark.
I
I
know
look
I
over
just
and
told the
I'm
time.
like, oh my gosh. I will say this. I will ask this because people are going to be interested and reach out. What do you wish a client knew before they contacted you? Because sometimes, a lot of times in that initial concept call, you're dealing with some misconceptions. What do you wish they knew before they picked up the phone?
The biggest thing is that when you go through a process, we'll look at your customer journey and we'll help you optimize and identify. This is not a game that you have to have all the solutions on board. That we've had people come to us saying, "Oh, we're not ready. We're still working through." And my response is, "Do you know what the end looks like? What is success? If you know that success metric at the end, that's all you need to know. You don't need to know how to navigate people to that success metric. Those are all things that we can work out through our process, through the workshopping we do. So that would be the biggest thing I would just say is that don't discredit yourself because you don't think you're at a certain place. Chances are there, you don't know what you don't know. And as you go through our process, it kicks on a new life that you may not have been able to see before.
What's your preferred way for people to reach out to you, Mark?
Yeah, you can go to customboxagency.com, book a free consultation, talk with me or a member of my team. We always love learning what people are doing, and we're the easiest people because if we're a good fit, we'll tell you. If we're not, we'll guide you in the right direction. You can always find me on LinkedIn and Facebook and drop me a
And,
message as well.
and thanks to our friends at Podmatch for putting us together. And
Yes.
please extend my thanks to Bianca. She was great.
Oh,
I
she's the
had some
best.
conversations with her. Did I leave anything on the table? Anything you wanted to cover before we go?
No, I just want another half hour. This was fantastic.
Yeah, we'll do it when you get ready and start doing pre-publicity for that book.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
let's do it. I'm gonna push you. I will email, I'll message you. I'll
I love
remind
it.
you a couple months from now, and I'll say, "Hey, where's that book at, man?"
And we're about to launch our podcast, and you need to come on that one as well.
Oh, that would be great. I did see that. What was the name of it again, so people could hear it?
So we are launching a show on Instagram that is Dash Talks Live. It's all a perfect
Dash
segue,
Talks.
especially if you're at the beginning. Dash came because we have a product called Dash, and it's all about speed to market with physical products, especially if you're entry and just getting started. And so Dash is just like playing off the concept of just speed. So there's just like we're having so much fun, and it's such a new way to look at business. So it allows us to have conversations. We're eventually going to launch a bigger podcast called Game Maker. We just acquired carddex.com. And so again, Cardex is a modality, physical cards. It's the same process that clients would go through with building the box, but uh, playing up this gaming theme about how you can leverage it for again acquisition, onboarding, delivery, and retention. We're just having fun with the different modalities and thinking about what is the role that you as an entrepreneur, you are the game maker of your own game.
I love it. I had a blast, Mark. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. I
thank you.
appreciate it. I'll end the stream, but we can continue on Zoom.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you. I've ended the stream. I always just look over because there's always this couple of second delay. Yeah.